the Finance Manager, I presume. Kelly, a few questions if I could, please. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my computer going. Just in there, in relation to this, it says an amendment has been made since the Audit Committee meeting to the budget review now presented. An allowance has been included in the balance sheet to allow for the repayment in 2016-17 of the balance of a fixed term loan taken out in 2002. I just was unsure why that wasn't taken to the Audit Committee. That's my first question. We'll all lead in a bunch, or one at a time? Okay.
Thank you, through your worship. It was omitted in error. We had discussed it during budget workshops for 2016-17 that we would look at paying off one of those long fixed term loans, but I hadn't made the amendment until in the March budget review yet. So I adjusted that in between the Audit Committee meeting and the presentation of this budget.
My second question was, I believe that loan was for $2.5 million, is that correct, the outstanding amount? Where was that payment funded, or how was that payment funded?
So the repayment of the principal amount will be funded through our cash flow, and then what we will do is at the end of 2016-17, when the construction of the FRAC is completed, we'll have a look at what what borrowing requirements are, and then possibly fix a new loan at a much reduced rate than we were paying on that balance of that 2002 loan.
So the allowance is included. Where was the allowance included in the balance sheet? Because it says that it was included in the balance sheet, but obviously if it's just been consumed by cash flow, it's probably not really in the balance sheet. Or?
So two separate things. So the actual repayment of the loans hits the cash flow statement. The borrowings balance is in the balance sheet and shows our total outstanding loans. So there's two separate things. One is the repayment amount and one is the actual borrowings outstanding. So they're both shown in separate financial statements.
So are they shown in the figures that we've been given within these? Because I compared the figures that we were given at the Audit Committee and the figures that were in here, and they seem to be exactly the same, so I just wondering.
What's adjusted is the net financial liabilities ratio. So the operating surplus and the asset sustainability ratio are exactly the same, but the changes to the balance sheet and the cash flow have resulted in a reduction in the net financial liabilities for the March budget review, as well as for the 2016-17 financial statements as well.
Okay, so there's no monetary changes in there, but obviously only that ratio has changed. So shouldn't that appear in the debt level, or?
Yeah, it does. It appears in the balance sheet and the cash flow, which influence the calculation of the net financial liabilities ratio.
Okay, I just couldn't see that was in the figures that we've been given. That's all I wanted to catch up there afterwards, because I still don't understand that. So the other question I wanted to ask was why the net financial liabilities ratio has been changed in the March quarter, and yet you've said there that the adjustment for the repayment will be in the 16-17 financial year. So I just wondered why it wasn't done in the same period.
Because of when it falls due. So the repayment, we can't make the repayment of that 2002 loan until September. We could pay it earlier, but it has absolutely no benefit to us. So the payment of that has been included in 16-17. But what that's done is, because we've decided to make that repayment, rather than roll over the loan, it's reduced our overall borrowings levels.
Well, I don't understand that either, because how could it alter your net financial liabilities ratio when you haven't even made the payment yet?
You need to look at basically the balance of the borrowings at the 30th of June in each year. So what we're saying is one of the things that had changed that net financial liabilities ratio was a reduction from $5.5 million in loans in this financial year to $1.2 million. So that's caused some of the change, but also the reduction in the level of borrowings at the 30th of June has also affected that ratio.
30th of June this year or last year?
this year.
So what's that to do with the March budget review again? I still don't understand that, I'm sorry.
I'm happy to show you at a later point.
I'm just trying to say that you've altered the ratio in March, and yet you haven't made the payment yet.
So the ratio's been altered, but that's based on a 30th of June position. So what we're looking at, the financial statements are actually a projection of what we think it will look like at the 30th of June. I don't know if that makes it any clearer.
That helps. Yeah, that helps me. Thank you. Yeah, okay. A couple more questions, if you just bear with me. Gets back to what you were just saying, the estimated borrowings have been reduced from 5.5 to 1.2, and I won't read the rest of it. So what were the significant changes that have had that reduction from 5.5 to 1.2, apart from that, obviously, a repayment?
Yep, so what we've got in attachment B is a listing of the major changes to capital. So there's a number of capital projects that have been deferred because of various issues such as ERD appeals on the Bluff car park. There's a few other larger projects, capital works at the WOW Centre. So the reduction in those capital projects has resulted in us not needing to take out as big a borrowings as we had estimated in the original budget review. And so that's what's caused that reduction.
Thank you. There's one more, just to straighten out my mind. In the uniform presentation of finances, the figure for borrowings for this financial year is 4,507,000. I'm just trying to get my head around the fact that you've just told us it's only 1.2 million, it's 4.5 million in there.
Yep, so the uniform presentation of finances only draws on certain figures from the other four financial statements. Basically, one thing to remember is within our operating expenses is depreciation, which we don't cash back, so we don't actually put that money into a reserve account for depreciation. We then use those funds to pay for our capital works. So within that, there's approximately $4.7 million worth of depreciation that we would use to fund our capital works.